Happy Friday, right? I know a lot of us were thinking 2-hour delay or something, but it is what it is. Let's get this Friday going.
It wasn't even that.
I need you to get out your Redfern packet. You can pull up the book on your iPad if you'd like, or at least just the Redfern packet. You were supposed to read chapters 19 and 20 yesterday. I'll give you a minute. Get those out and we'll go from there.
I finished
3, 2. All right, this is what's going to have to happen because it's been too many times already this morning. Quietly getting out your packets so we can get started. What you need, Nick?
For chapter 20, I finished listening to it, but I didn't have enough time to do the questions.
Well, you'll have to get those filled in later. I'm not going over all the questions. I'm only going to touch on some of them and kind of do a quick summary here with you. So last 2 chapters of the book, as we have anticipated, they were not the happiest of chapters. So chapter 19 was pretty lengthy. Billy goes out hunting. Tell me, what kind of happens? Give me a quick summary, John.
He goes to the cyclone timber,
Okay.
finds the mountain lion in a tree, and then the dogs try to protect Billy from the mountain lion. And he suffered from the pain he took from the lion and died. And then
So stop there, and we'll get to Little Ann, okay? So he does go. Now that's your first question, John. Answer. Where does he go hunt? Right, the cyclone country, and the dogs go out there, and they. Now this is saying a bobcat. I'm trying to remember, because even in the movie it shows a bobcat. But I thought at some point too earlier in the story he runs into the same. And I thought it was a lion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a mountain.
Okay, yeah, the mountain lion that he runs into earlier in the story, and I want to say it was the same one. Okay, because it's kind of the same area that he goes to hunt. And the dogs do try to protect him, right? Or they do. I mean, he obviously lives. And old Dan takes the brunt of it and ends up dying. So we know then what happens to little Ann. Now she too was part of that battle with that lion, okay? But she ends up surviving a little while. Josh, what happens?
She ends up surviving, but she sees old Dan at the porch, so she sits down with him, and then Billy buries old Dan, and then Mama says little Ann is up somewhere in the house or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then Billy finds her at the grave, and then Billy touches her, and there's no response.
Right. And what did they say little Ann died of? Riker?
she didn't want to live anymore. She didn't feel like living without old man.
Right. They said she died of a broken heart, so she had no life left in her, right? She wasn't eating. She just wanted her friend back. And he eventually finds little Ann with old Dan's grave, and she's no longer alive. So he buries her, right, next to him. Okay, what happens then after that? Canyon?
They move away
They do move away. How are they able to move away?
from the $300 that they got.
Right, all the money, well, the $300 plus all the money that he had earned selling the furs, right? So they were able to move away. Why did they want to move away? I think Mama was the main reason she wanted to move. Why did she want to move, Ava?
Because so that his sisters could go to school.
Right, she wanted to send them to a proper school so they get a proper education. Okay, so they were able to do that because of old Dan and Little Ann, because of Billy's dogs. Okay, and they move. What happens then, Brendan?
Billy wanted to say goodbye to the dogs, and then he got mad because it was blood, and then he figured out it was Redfern, and then he thinks of the legend with the 2 Indians, the boy and the girl.
Right, so he at first is upset that this plant is growing where his dogs are laying, right? Buried. But he eventually kind of is okay with it, like Brendan mentioned, because of the legend. Let's see here.
It's in chapter 20.
Yes, it is, because that's the last
What if
chapter.
the people that live there next end up?
So here he noticed things he hadn't seen before. I'm looking here. Oh, here we go. Remembering the meaning of a legend, I turned and started hollering for Mama. Mama, Mama, I shouted, come here and hurry. You won't believe it. Right? And she thinks something's wrong, like usual. Mama was very protective, is afraid something is wrong. She hurries over, right? She walked over and very tenderly started fingering the long red leaves. In an awed voice, she said, all my life I've wanted to see one. Now I have. It's almost unbelievable. Okay, and then Papa walks over. They all kind of gather around, right? So going back here, the old Indian legend about the red fern, how a little Indian boy and girl were lost in the blizzard and had frozen to death. In the spring, when they were found, a beautiful red fern had grown up between their two bodies. The story went on to say that only an angel could plant the seeds of a red fern and that they never died. Where one grew, that spot was sacred, right? So why is that important to him? Why does that kind of give him comfort after he remembers that and everybody comes over and looks at it? He kind of is comforted, right? And as they're leaving, he's okay with everything. Why, Kenny?
Because that he thinks that means that like God or something thought that the dogs deserved to have to be honored and
Okay.
to be remembered.
Right, they're being honored, they're being remembered. What else? Juliana?
Because he had a boy dog and a girl dog, and the legend was about a boy and a girl.
Okay, similar, right? They both, we know they mentioned little Ann dies of a broken heart. They were both very close, those two animals. This red fern is growing. So if it's a sacred place, what does that mean if something is sacred? Or that's what the legend supposedly tells us. I think Kenny was on target there. Sean, what else?
Like a place with flowers and it's pretty.
It is a little more than that. If you have a historic building, right, that's protected by something, a law or whatever, what can't you do to that historic building? Nick?
Destroy it or take it away.
Right, you can't destroy it or tear it down. So that red fern to Billy also meant that that land was kind of protected, right? Because we don't see the red ferns very often and they only grow for certain reasons. So it was sacred, right? It was being protected by this red fern, and that kind of made him feel better, right? That hopefully nobody would come along and destroy the land, disrupting his dog's graves. Riker?
Where did he decide to hunt again?
The cyclone.
Cyclone country.
Yeah.
Sean?
Are red ferns actually a real thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Where are the red fern goes?
Where the red fern? Yep. Let's see what other questions we have here. We got through. I'm not going through all of them because there was a lot. And my questions are kind of yes.
I thought of this while reading the last chapter. At the very, very beginning, like the first page that we started with this booklet, it was one dog getting ganged up on. And
Yeah.
then it almost dies, and then at the end of this story, both Lily and Old Dan dies.
He does.
Getting in the
What souvenir, where am I at here? I'm looking at 12. What souvenir would Billy like to find? That must have been chapter 20 I'm on. Yep. Chapter 20. What souvenir would he like to find? Ava? Yeah, the axe with the lantern hanging from it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The special legend we talked about. Billy shouts to Mama. So a lot of these we kind of touched on, didn't we, as we told our thing. So thoughts of the story. Let's go there. Let's talk about if we liked it or we didn't like it. think about the ending too. Did you like the ending? I realize we probably didn't for the fact that the dogs died, but at the same time, it kind of gave the story purpose, right? It wouldn't have been called Where the Red Fern Grows had they not. Okay, so I'm going to take some thoughts here. For those of you watching the video, you can post your thoughts, reviews about the book on updates in reading because we'd like to see them. Let's hear what we have in here. Josh, go ahead.
I like the story, but obviously the ending is very sad.
It is.
And it's in the beginning, Billy's an adult, and then at like the last sentence, he becomes an adult again,
Okay.
and he takes us a long flashback.
It is a long flashback, isn't it? It's a couple of years because we know he saved 2 years just to get those dogs, right?
And then it took a couple more years just for Billy to train the dogs. And
Not a couple years. It didn't take him too long, but I think we probably have another year or two of him hunting and doing all that stuff, right?
At the end, he was
Okay.
probably like 14 or something.
Possibly.
He was like
Yeah,
15,
that could be.
14 or 15.
Maya,
I give it 2-star review.
how many?
2.
2? Why 2?
Out of 10,
the dogs died.
Well,
Me and Juliana both agreed that the entire family.
well, think about it. Most dog movies and dog books, what happens to the dogs?
they die.
They do.
out of 10.
Like
Okay.
Bob's Purpose, they died.
They do. Yep. Raise your hands. Sean.
This book is like one of my favorite books, and like I've read it before, and I just don't like chapter 13 where Reuben dies and the
Yeah.
ending chapter.
No, I know.
Yeah. That's a rough chapter too.
Miss
Riker?
I give it like a 3.5 star because
Why?
because where it says where the red fern grows, it only has 2 sentences of the red fern, and also if I think like another chapter or 2 at the end should have been what he does like I think he should have gotten another coonhound when he was a grown up.
When he was grown up.
Yeah, because there
So-
was 19 chapters of him being a kid.
Where the Red Fern Grows is the title. Why do you think that? Why do you think it is? What title would you give it, Riker?
I don't know. I'm not an author.
You don't have to be an author. You said it shouldn't be called Where the Red Fern Grows. So what would you call it?
No, I said I don't think the chapter should be Where the Red Fern Grows when it only has 2 sentences of red
But why was it? Why is it that?
because it grows right next to the bridge.
And it's significant, right? It's significant for Billy and for the dogs. That's why it's called that. But he could have definitely given the book a different title, right?
Billy and the dog.
Okay. Eli.
I don't know. The title could be the
The story of Little Ann and Big Dan.
no the flashback of Billy's
Old
story.
Dan.
Yeah, I guess it could be, but I don't think they're gonna call it that. Brendan.
Sell it from there.
Don't hire me as an
I
author.
give it a 10-star review. I like the story. One of the longest stories I've read. I think the story should be called Billy and the Two Hounds.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Which one?
Was sad, happy.
Definitely a lot of emotions, right? For sure. All right. Good.
Yeah, hire Brendan.
Kenny,
I give
gentlemen.
it a 4 out
Hire
of 5.
Brendan. Small notes.
The only thing that's missing is it gives us too much about the background, but then, like, it would be better if it gave more about present day or just didn't give us anything about present day. And then I also,
Well, I wouldn't say like they mean present day as in like he's telling
yeah,
starts a story with present day like
from not far.
today, right? Maybe. And then he's telling the story in the past, so that's what they're
I
meaning
have
by
something to
that.
add on to hers.
Okay.
The dogs still would have died because Billy was the one who killed the lion. He struck him in the head.
Yep,
So
he
either
is.
way, the dogs would have died.
Yep.
Wait.
All right. You have today. I think we're getting off track. you have today. We're gonna watch the movie later. I have posted the link for those of you at home. You can watch the movie. You can watch all of it today. You can watch it over the weekend. However you wanna do that. And then Monday we're gonna look at and kind of compare the book and the movie as our assignment. Tuesday we'll review for the test, and then Wednesday we will take the test. Don't forget you have a February book report due the end of this month. February's a short month. It goes quick. Got 2 books to read. Okay. So aside from the movie, there's no other reading assignment. I would, however, make sure, I see even some of them here in class, do not have the questions answered.
I do.
Okay, those need to get answered because that is your study guide. Okay, so make sure you have that answered, filled in, and that way you can review that over the weekend and the next couple of days here, Monday, Tuesday of next week.